Welcome back students to the video lecture series. I am Adil Mansoori from Civil Engineering Department of LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today we are going to start with another module, and that is the unit operation processes for wastewater treatment. Up till now we have already covered regarding the collection and estimation of wastewater as well as sewer appurtenances, which are the different types of sewer appurtenances and what are the functions, laying and testing of sewers. Okay, so today we will be discussing about a new topic, that is the what are the different types of unit processes that takes place in order to remove different types of impurities from the wastewater. Okay, so let us begin. So let us start with the introduction. Up till now we have already discussed that why wastewater treatment is necessary. Okay, and the treatment of wastewater usually depends on the impurities that are present in it. Usually the impurities that are present are in the form of physical, chemical or biological impurities. Okay, and accordingly the treatment that are given is physical treatment, chemical treatment and the biological treatment. Okay, so let us have a look at the table. So you can see that from the table the first column says numbers, second is the type of treatment, that is physical, chemical or biological treatment, the third column says which type of treatment unit it is, then the fourth column says the name of the unit, and the fifth column says the function. Okay, so the first physical treatment is the screen, and in screen you can remove large suspended and floating particles. Okay, so second one is the grit chamber, in which you can remove grit, and there is the third one, that is the clarifier, in which you can remove silt, sand and other heavier matters. Okay, so as you can see from the table that screen, clarifiers and grit chambers are all physical treatment units, because in all those the removal of impurities is taking place due to the physical processes like gravity settling, mechanical settling, etc. Mechanical settling takes place in screens and gravity settling takes place in clarifiers, and clarifiers are also known as sedimentation basin or settling tank. Okay, so this was about the physical treatments. Let us now have a look at the chemical treatment. So you can see that second is the chemical treatment, and the name of the unit is chemical reactors. Okay, and the main function of the chemical reactors is to remove dissolved chemicals. Okay, so chemical treatments of wastewater is normally preferred when the wastewater discharge is very small, like that which is produced by industries and which contains only chemicals. Okay, the chemical treatments takes place in the units which are called reactors, as I said earlier, and the chemical treatments of industrial wastewater can be achieved using several methods like chemical coagulation, chemical precipitation, oxidation and reduction, that is we have already studied in our higher secondary section, that is the redox reaction. Okay, then neutralization and ion exchange method. Okay, so these are the different types of chemical treatments that are usually taking place in the chemical reactors. Okay, wastewater discharge is very large because it is the wastewater of the entire city, and therefore chemical treatment of municipal wastewater is not considered. Okay, chemical treatment of only industrial wastewater is considered, because it will only industrial wastewater will contain chemicals, rest of the wastewater from the entire city will not contain any kind of chemicals. Okay, next is the biological treatment. Okay, so as you can see from the table that there are four types of units, that is the trickling filter, activated sludge plant, rotating biological contractors and digesters. Okay, and the main functions of the biological treatment unit is to remove dissolved organic matter. Okay, so the biological treatment fully utilizes the microorganisms for treatment of the wastewater, and depending upon the microorganisms used, the biological treatment is basically classified into two types. First one is the aerobic treatment, which uses aerobic microorganisms, and second one is the anaerobic treatment. Okay, so let us now move towards the next topic. So the next topic is flowchart of municipal wastewater treatment plant. Okay, so the picture represents the municipal wastewater treatment plant. Okay, so you can see that so we know that wastewater of the city reaches the sewage treatment plant or the wastewater treatment plant through a sewerage network, and the last sewer which supplies the wastewater into the sewage treatment plant is known as the outfall sewer, that we have already seen in the municipal sewerage network. Okay, now you can see in the picture that there are various treatment units. Okay, now in this treatment plant, the treatment takes place in three stages. So first one is the preliminary treatment consisting of screens and grit removal. Then there is a primary treatment that is consisting of primary sedimentation tank, and the third one is the secondary treatment, which is consisting of trickling filter and secondary sedimentation tank as well as the disinfection unit. Okay, when the treated wastewater is intended for recycling or reuse as domestic wastewater supply or for supply for swimming pool, then the tertiary treatment is given to the wastewater. Okay, the phosphorus and nitrogen content of wastewater are reduced to an objectionable level in tertiary treatment. Okay, it should be remembered that the tertiary treatment is given after preliminary, primary and secondary treatment. Okay, so once again let us have a look at the picture. So you can see that the wastewater from the entire city will enter into the sewage treatment plant through an outfall sewer. Okay, then the first treatment is the screens, and second one is the grit chamber, which is represented as GC. Then there is a primary sedimentation tank in which the suspended particles will be removed or will be removed by settling, okay, after addition of the coagulants. Then there is a trickling filter. Okay, the detailed function of the trickling filter will be discussed later on. Then there is a secondary sedimentation tank, and then there is a disinfection unit. You can see that there are two arrows from the primary sedimentation tank and the secondary sedimentation tank. So whatever the impurities are removed in the primary and secondary sedimentation tank, which are settled at the bottom of the tank, which is known as sludge, it will be then transferred to the sludge digestion tank, that is SDT, where anaerobic reaction will be taking place. Okay, and after the sludge is digested, it is spread on the sludge drying beds. So in sludge drying beds, the digested sludge is spread in order to remove all the moisture. Okay, and the dried sludge is used as a manure, okay, or a fertilizer. So this is how the flowchart of the municipal wastewater treatment plant is. Okay, so let us now start with the next topic, that is the screening. Okay, so this is the picture of the screening. Actually, screening is the first unit operation which is employed in the wastewater treatment. Okay, and screening is necessary to remove all the solid or suspended particles such as pieces of clothes or garbage, so as to protect the other units from the clogging. Okay, now the retained material at screen is known as screenings, and it is required to clean the screen for proper functioning. Okay, it is required to clean the screen for proper functioning, right? Because when the screens will get clogged because of the clogging of the floating particles, then the wastewater which has to be moved from the screen will not go as per the requirement. So next is, screens consist of vertical or inclined bars, wire mesh or perforated plates having either circular or rectangular openings, right? So you can see in the next slide, these are the perforated screens, right? So screens are usually kept ahead of grid chambers, and bar screens are classified according to the spacing of bar as core screen. If the spacing is greater than or equals to 50 mm, it is known as core screen, and if this opening or the spacing is between 20 to 50 mm, then it is known as the medium screen. Okay, the bar screens are inclined at 30 to 60 degrees to the direction of flow to increase the area of screening, and screenings are fixed permanently and may either be manually cleaned or mechanically cleaned. Okay, and the total amount of screening may be 0.03 to 0.08 meter cube per million liter of wastewater. It means that for an inflow of 1 million liter of wastewater, there may be screenings of 0.03 to 0.08 meter cube. Okay, so if screenings formed are 0.05 meter cube per million liter for wastewater treatment plant with 50 million liters of flow of wastewater, then the total daily amount of screenings that will be removed will be 50 into 0.05, that will be approximately equals to 2.5 meter cube. Okay, so whatever the waste is removed, which is known as screenings, they can be disintegrated, digested, incinerated, or even buried. Okay, so this is how the screening functions. Clear, students? So let us now start with the next topic, that is the design criteria of screens. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, there is a table of the permissible limits for the design of screens. Okay, so the first is the serial number, second one is the design parameter, third one is the criteria for manually cleaned screens, and fourth one is for the mechanically cleaned screens. Okay, and last one is the typical value for calculation. If in a data while calculation or designing of screens, when you are not given any kind of information, then you have to assume the data which is shown in the last column. Okay, so the first one is the velocity through rack. For manually cleaned screen, it is 0.3 to 0.6 meter per second, and for mechanically cleaned screen, it is 0.6 to 1 meter per second. And if you are not given any values for calculation during the design of screen, then you have to assume 0.8 meter per second. Okay, next one is the bar size. Width for manually cleaned is 4 to 8 mm, and depth for manually cleaned it is 25 to 50 mm, whereas in the case of mechanically cleaned screen, width is in between 8 to 10 mm and depth is in between 50 to 75 mm. Okay, and typical values are 10 to 50. Okay, next is spacing between bars is 25 to 75 mm for mechanically cleaned screen, and it is 10 to 50 mm for spacing of bars for manually cleaned screen, it is 25 to 75 mm, and for mechanically cleaned it is 10 to 50 mm. Typical value you can go for 50 mm. If I talk about the slope, it is in between 30 degree to 60 degree, and ideal value can be taken as 45 degrees. Allowable head loss is 150 only. Okay, so let us now move ahead. Let us now start with the next topic, that is necessary information required for design of screens. Okay, so first one is the peak wet weather flow, that is during monsoon season how much will be the maximum flow that will be entering the sewage treatment plant, so that we will be able to know how much screenings will be removed. Okay, next is peak dry weather flow. Apart from monsoon season, that is during winter season and summer season, what will be the maximum flow that will be coming into the sewage treatment plant. Okay, next is hydraulic design of influent conduit, that is the pipe which is carrying the wastewater to the treatment plant. It is known as the influent conduit, right? So we will be requiring, or we will be needing, how much is the diameter, how much is the gradient of the influent conduit. Okay, next is the treatment plant design criteria specified by Bureau of Indian Standards or other such agencies, right? Next is equipment manufacturers and its specification, that is whatever the screens are there, right, or whatever any other treatments are present in the treatment unit, right, or treatment plant, then who is the manufacturer and what are the different specifications of the particular treatment unit. Okay, next velocity through bars, right? You can adjust the velocity through bars because there is a gate provided in front of the screens, right? Depending upon the opening you can adjust the velocity. Next is the information on existing facility if plant is to be expanded, right? Next, bar spacing and head loss you have to assume, right? Then existing site plant with contours, right? That is whether the site plan or the whether the particular treatment plant is at a higher elevation or where there is an undulation in the land, right? So you have to take that also in consideration. And next is velocity through screen chambers. Okay, so these are the necessary informations which are required for design of screens. Okay students, so up till now we have completed regarding the various types of screens and the design criteria for design of screens. Let us now start with the next topic, that is design steps of screens. So the first step is to assume the velocity through screens, right? So whenever the water will be entering the sewage treatment plant, you will have to assume the velocity of water through the screens. Step 2 is to find out the net area of screen. Net area of screen can be found out by dividing discharge with the velocity. Step 3 is to assume the bar size and the spacing. Step 4 is to find out the gross area. Gross area can be found out by the formula net area that we have found out in step 2 and multiplying it with spacing plus width and dividing it with the spacing. Step 5 is to find out the gross area after inclination of 45 degree. Step 6 is to find out velocity on upstream of screen. This can be found out by multiplying the assumed velocity with spacing and then dividing it with the center to center distance between the bars. And last step is to find out the head loss, that is capital V square minus small v square divided by 2g into 1 by 0.7, where capital V is the assumed velocity through screens and small v is the velocity on upstream of the screens. You should take a note that center to center distance between bars is found out using clear spacing plus width of the bar plus width of the bar. That means the clear spacing between the bars plus width of the bar, half the width of the bar on either side of the spacing. Okay, so these are the design steps of the screen. Let us now move towards the numerical. So here you can see the data that design bar screen for a peak flow of 50 mld and assume suitable data. Okay, So let us start with the solution. So here they have given maximum rate of flow as 50 mld. So let us first convert this million liters per day into meter cube per second. So multiplying with 10 to the power 6 and multiplying with 10 to the power minus 3 to convert liters into meter cube, and converting day into second, so 24 into 3600. So this will be equals to 0.5787 meter cube per second. Okay, now the first assumption, assume velocity through screen. That is equals to 0.8 meter per second. Okay, next step, to find the net area. So net area is found out by the formula discharge upon velocity. Okay, so this will be equals to 0.5787 divided by 0.8. So this will be equals to 0.7234 meter square. Okay, so this will be the net area of screens. Next step is to assume bar size. So assume bar size of 10 mm width and 50 mm depth. Okay, and assume clear spacing as 40 mm. Okay, so let us now find out the gross area. So gross area will be equals to net area into spacing plus width divided by spacing. Okay, so this will be equals to 0.7234 into 40 plus 10 divided by 40. So this will be equals to 0.9043 meter square. Okay, so this will be the gross area of the screen. Now assume inclination equals to 45 degrees, right? So therefore gross area after inclination will be equals to gross area upon sine of 45 degrees. So this will be equals to 0.9043 divided by sine of 45 degree, and this will be equals to 1.2788 meter square. Okay, so the gross area of the screen after inclination will be equals to 1.2788 meter square. Okay. So next step is to find out the velocity on the upstream of screen. So therefore velocity in the approach channel will be equals to small v will be equals to capital V into spacing upon center to center distance between bars. Okay, so this will be equals to 0.8 this will be equals to 0.8 into spacing, that is 40, divided by center to center distance between bars, that will be 50. Okay, and this will be equals to 0.64 meter per second. Okay, so the velocity in the approach channel will be lesser than the velocity through screens. Okay, now we need to find out the head loss. So head loss will be equals to v square minus v square by 2g into 1 by 0.7. So this will be equals to 0.8 square minus 0.64 square divided by 2 into 9.81 into 1 by 0.7. So this will be equals to 0.0167 meter. Okay, so approximately equals to 0.017 meter, or this will be equals to 1.7 centimeter. Okay, now so this is the head loss when the screen is cleaned. Now what if the screen is half clogged? So when screen is half clogged, then velocity will be double. Okay, so this will be equals to 1.6. so in that case head loss will be capital V square minus V square upon 2g into 1 by 0.7. so this will be 1.6 square minus 0.64 square divided by 2 into 9.81 into 1 by 0.7, and this will be equals to 0.157 meter or 157 mm. Okay, so which is greater than 150 mm, which was our design criteria. So if the screen is half clogged, if screen is half clogged, then it needs to be frequently cleaned. Okay, so let us now move towards the next topic, and the next topic is grid chamber. Okay, so this is the picture of a grid chamber. As we all know that certain particles such as sand, ash, cinder, eggshells, etc., which are of the size less than 0.2 mm are considered as grit. Okay, so it is actually not putrescible and it possesses higher subsidence value than other organic matter. Okay, now It is therefore possible to remove these grits from the wastewater easily by reducing the velocity of the wastewater in a long channel which is known as the grit chamber. Okay, so you can see here that from the left side the water is entering the grit chamber, right? Then the area is increasing, and in increasing area the velocity of flow is reduced. Okay, so that because of the reduced velocity the particles will settle down under the effect of gravitational force. Okay, so the velocity is reduced to about 0.3 meter per second, and the settled grit is washed before the disposal. Okay, now, grit chamber is provided for the purpose of removal of silt and sand particles, mainly so that the same will not cause the wear and tear of vanes of pump or clogging of the pipes, as well as valve operation difficulty. Okay, so removal of grit also reduces accumulation of inert material in subsequent treatment units. Okay, so if the grit is removed in this chamber, right, so there will be less load on the subsequent treatment units. Okay, then cementing effect are also prevented in settling tank and in digester if you remove the grit. Understood? So let us now talk about the grit collection and removal. So mechanical grit collection in velocity controlled horizontal flow grit chambers and aerated grit chambers is achieved by conventional equipment with scraper screws, bucket, plows, or some combination of these. Okay. In some cases, steep bottom slope is provided, which will collect the grit at the central point of removal, as I showed in the figure in the last slide. Okay, then grit removal is also achieved by air pumps for small aerated grit chambers. Okay, and grit can also be removed by tubular conveyors, bucket type collectors, elevators, screw conveyors, grit pumps, and clamshell buckets. Okay, so these are the different equipments through which or by which grit is removed. Next is grit disposal. Okay, so various methods are used for grit disposal, and they are basically three. First one is known as sanitary landfilling, second one is known as land spreading, and third one is known as incineration with sludge. Okay, so sanitary landfilling is done in usually low-lying areas or large natural pits. The grit is disposed. Okay, so such a method of disposal is preferred when the site of disposal is far away from the city or town. Okay, next is land spreading. So it is just spreading of the grit on the land, and the last one is the incineration with sludge. So incineration meaning burning with burning at a very high temperature in excess oxygen. Okay, so city solid waste can be incinerated, and sludge and grit can also be taken to incinerator for burning. So grit can also be buried when quantity is small. Okay, so this is about the grit disposal. Next is quantity of grit. So grit quantity actually varies greatly, right, and it depends on various factors such as the type of sewerage system, that is whether it is a separate or the combined sewerage system. So if there is a separate sewerage system, then the grit collection will be less, and if it is a combined sewerage system, then the grit quantity will be more. Okay, next is climatic condition. So in case of monsoon season, the quantity of grit that might enter the sewage treatment plant may be more, okay, as compared to other seasons. Next is the soil type, then sewer grades, then types of industrial wastewater, then relative use of garbage and grinders. So the next is the grid quantity may range from 5 to 200 meter cube per million cubic meter of wastewater, and the typical value can be considered as 30 meter cube per million cubic meter of wastewater. Okay. So let us now move towards the next topic, that is design criteria for horizontal flow grid chambers. As you can see from the table that the second column is the design parameters, third column is the permissible limit, and the last column is the typical value for calculation. Okay, so let us start with the first parameter, that is the detention time. So detention time is the time between the entry and exit of a particular particle in a particular treatment unit. Okay, so it is usually in between 40 to 60 seconds, and the typical value you can go for is 50 seconds. Next is the horizontal flow velocity, which is Vd, and the permissible limit is between 15 and 30 centimeter per second, and typical value you can go for is 30 centimeter per second. Next is the surface overflow rate. So the permissible limit is in between 500 and 1500 meter cube per meter square per day. Next is length to width ratio, that is in between 6:1 to 15:1, and ideal value is 10:1. Next, depth can be in between 1.5 to 2 meters, and freeboard you can assume as 0.75 to 1 meters. You can go for 1 meter as the typical value. Okay. Next is settling velocity can be found by the formula 60.6 g minus 1 into d into 3t plus 70 by 100, where Vs is the settling velocity, d is the size of particle, which is usually 0.2 mm, right? Then T is the temperature, and that has to be 27 degrees centigrade, and G is the specific gravity, which is 2.65. Okay, so these are the design criteria for horizontal flow grid chambers. Okay students, so up till now we have completed grid chamber, quantity of grid generated, disposal, and we have also completed the design criteria of grid chamber. Let us now start with the next topic, that is design step of the grid chamber. So the first step is to assume the horizontal velocity. Assumptions regarding the different criteria we have already discussed. Okay, so first step is to assume horizontal velocity, that is Vd. Then step 2 is to assume detention time, T. Okay, then once we know the horizontal velocity and the detention time, then we can find out the length of the tank, that is the step 3. So length of the tank will be horizontal flow velocity into detention time. Okay, next step is to find settling velocity from the equation of Vs, right? Then step 5 is to find the depth. Once you know the settling velocity and we know the detention time, then we can find out the depth. Okay, next step is to assume length to width ratio and find out the width of the tank. Okay, next check for SOR. SOR condition we have already studied, that is 500 to 1500 meter cube per meter square per day, right? So these are the design steps of grid chamber. Let us now move towards the numerical so that you will get a better clarity. Okay, so numerical is design a suitable grid chamber to cater town of 2 lakh population with 150 LPCD of sewage contribution and assume peak factor as 1.5. It means that you have population as 2 lakh and you have 150 liters per capita per day as sewage contribution, right? So let us start with the design. Okay, Okay, so first we need to find out the average flow. Okay, average flow of sewage. So this will be 2 lakh into 150. So this will be equals to 30 into 10 to the power 6 liters per day, right? Now we are given peak factor as 1.5. okay, so therefore maximum sewage flow will be equals to 1.5 into average sewage flow, right? So this will be equals to 1.5 into 30 into 10 to the power 6, and this will be equals to 45 into 10 to the power 6 liters per day, right? Now we need to convert it into meter cube per second and meter cube per day, right? So let us first convert into meter cube per second. So this will be 45 into 10 to the power 6 into 10 to the power minus 3 divided by 24 into 3600, right? So this will be in meter cube per second, right? So this will be equals to 0.520 meter cube per second. Okay, if I talk about converting into meter cube per day, then this will be equals to, I am writing over here, right? So this will be 45 into 10 to the power 6 into 10 to the power minus 3 in meter cube per day, right? So this will be equals to 45 into 10 to the power 3 meter cube per day, right? Clear? So this was the maximum sewage flow. Now we need to assume horizontal velocity and detention time, right? So next step, assume horizontal flow velocity, right? So this will be equals to, let us assume as 0.3 meter per second, right? And assume detention time as 50 seconds. Okay, so next is to find out the length of the tank, right? So therefore length of the tank will be equals to V into T, right? So what is the horizontal flow velocity? 0.30. What is the time? 50 seconds. So this will be equals to 15 meters. So we got the length of the tank as 15 meter. Clear? Next step is to find the settling velocity, right? So therefore settling velocity Vs will be equals to 60.6 G minus 1 into D 3T plus 70 by 100, right? So this is the equation, fine. So here 60.6 into G is specific gravity, right? The diameter 0.2, right? 3 T is temperature 27 plus 70 upon 100, right? So this will be equals to 0.2 into 3 into 27 plus 70, right? So this will be equals to 30.2 mm per second, or this will be equals to 0.30 this will be equals to 0.030 meter per second, right? So settling velocity will be 0.03 meter per second. Okay, so now once you know the settling velocity, you can easily find out the depth of the tank, right? So therefore depth of tank will be equals to Vs into T, that is 0.03 into 50, and that is nothing but the 1.5 meter. So first thing that you got was length, number one, then you got the depth, right? That is number two. Clear? Now the next step is to find the width. Okay, so for that, next assumption, that is assume L is to B ratio equals to 10:1, right? So therefore L by B equals to 10:1. This implies that B equals to L by 10. We have already found out that is 15 by 10, and that is nothing but 1.5 meter. Okay, so we have found out width as 1.5 meter, right? Clear, students? So next is to check for SOR. Check for SOR, right? So in SOR, discharge per unit plan area, right? So what was the discharge? 45 into 10 to the power 3 meter cube per day. And what was the area? Area we have to consider plan area, so that will be equals to 15 into 1.5, right? So this is coming out to be equals to 2000 meter cube per day per meter square, which is greater than 1500 meter cube per day per meter square, right? So this value is not acceptable, right, students? So if this value is not acceptable, you need to redesign. Okay, so let us reassume and assume L is to B as 6:1, right? So this will be equals to B equals to 15 by 6, right? L is 15, so this will be equals to 2.5 meters, right? So if we assume width as 2.5, so if we assume L is to B as 6:1, then we get width equals to 2.5 meter. Then check for SOR again, right? So this will be equals to 45 into 10 to the power 3 divided by 15 into 2.5, and this comes out to be equals to 1200 meter cube per day per meter square, which is less than 1500. So therefore acceptable. Okay, students, therefore final dimensions of Great chamber is 15 by 2.5 by 1.5. Okay, so this is the final answer. Understood? So this is how the grid chamber is designed. Okay, So that's all for today's video. We will discuss some new topics in the next video.